Parent Share. Activity 1, Parent Share, was first presented in Class 1, Activity 2, so we'll begin this walkthrough with Activity 2. If you are new to teaching the AKA Science curriculum or would like a refresher, please see the video guide for that class. Activity 2, Pinecone Protector. The goal of this activity is to observe how pine cones protect their seeds. This activity is linked to a survey question as found in the printed curriculum. Pass the 2 pine cones around for students to see and ask them if they know what happens to pine cones when it rains. Show the students the 20-ounce cup 3/4 full of water and ask them to make a hypothesis about what will happen if you put one of the pine cones in water. We've already put it in here, so got a little bit of a spoiler of what happens. Yeah, put one of the pine cones in the water and put a binder clip on the side of the cup and bend the little metal arm thing down to keep the pine cone submerged in the water. You can explain that the pine cone that's not in the water is the control, so you can observe only the variable that you're testing for. After 30 to 40 minutes around the end of class, check in on the pine cones, and you can explain why pine cones close up like this using the discussion prompts found in your printed curriculum. Boop. Activity 3, Yeast Face. For this activity, you'll need the supplies listed on your screen and in your printed curriculum. This activity will be done in groups of 4. This activity is linked to a survey question as found in the printed curriculum. The goal of this activity is to investigate how yeast eats and breathes. Assign 1 sweetener for each student and a group, or let them decide among themselves. Explain that since the yeast you'll be using is dried, you'll need to activate it in warm water first. Fill each student's vial halfway full with very warm water in order to leave room for the yeast and sweetener. Have your students set the vial on their piece of paper towel, then pour the yeast into their vial and stir it with a stirring stick. They should then open the short side of their sweetener packet, pour it into their vial, and stir again, keeping the empty packet handy. Now work together in pairs to stretch a balloon over the mouth of each vial. The balloons will stretch more if the yeast produces more carbon dioxide. Now, you give each group a large roasting pan and tape each vial into the bottom of each roasting pan and wait 15 minutes for it to react. We've already done this. This one's sugar. This one's Splenda. This one's equal. This one's sweet and low. Ideally, the sugar will inflate the balloon more, but I think I mixed in the sugar and yeast pretty slowly and didn't add a lot of yeast to each thing, into each vial, so take it from me, you should probably add a good amount of yeast to each one, stir it in, and make sure the water is still warm when you put the balloons on. Yeah. After at least 15 minutes, then have the students observe what's happened, specifically which balloon has inflated the most. In most cases, the sugar should have inflated the balloon the most. If it's hard to tell from looking at them, then you can use a piece of twine and a ruler by wrapping the twine around the circumference of the balloon, holding it where it wraps around fully, and then laying it flat next to the ruler and measuring out how much length of string that is. You can dispose of the vial and balloon by first separating the 2 over a trash can with a liner and then dropping both in. You can use the discussion prompts in your printed curriculum to explain why the vial with sugar inflated the balloon. Activity 4, Getting Carried Away. For K-3 instructors, this activity appears as Activity 3 for you in your class session instead. For this activity, you'll need the supplies listed on your screen and in your printed curriculum. This activity will be done partially in 4 groups, done in pairs. This activity is linked to a survey question, as found in the printed curriculum. The goal of this activity is to investigate different seed dispersal methods. Start a discussion about how some plants move and reproduce. Put students in no more than 4 groups, and give each group a "How does this seed travel" worksheet and magnifying lens, and have students examine the worksheet. Challenge your students to sort seeds based on how they think they move. Give each group a plate of seeds from the seed pack and the bundles of seed images and a 3-inch felt piece. Have them look at the seeds but not touch them yet. And from within the seed pack, got the piece of felt, And you can use the piece of felt to test if the seeds would stick to fur or clothing. So see, I got the little prickly one here. You rub it on there and it sticks on. Students can also hold the seeds above their heads and drop them down to see if they float gently down to float into the blown on the wind category. For example, probably not. Once they're done, have the groups compare their decisions and reasoning. Allow them to change their decisions after the conversations. Explain that good scientists share their observations and are willing to change their minds. Reveal how each seed actually travels using the chart in your printed curriculum, and ask if any of them were surprised. Have groups set their felt squares aside for the next activity. Pair students within their groups. Tell them that they'll be looking inside of tamarinds and give each pair 4 round toothpicks and 2 paper plates. Have a student in each group break a tamarind pod in half. Each pair should put a half piece of tamarind on one of their plates and put the Douglas fir cone and flat maple seed on the other. They should now dissect them to try to find the seeds inside. They can get through the sticky fruit interior of the tamarind using the toothpicks. They can either pull scales off of the pine cone or break the whole pine cone in half. Afterwards, have them throw everything away that's on their plates and wash their hands. Give each student a small paper bag. Within each group, each student can take home either an acorn, a maple helicopter with a rounded seed, a pack of dandelion seeds, or a pine cone. Activity 5. Seed Dispersal Design. For K-3 instructors, this activity appears as Activity 4 for you in this class session instead. For this activity, you'll need the supplies listed on your screen and in your printed curriculum. This activity will be done individually by students. The goal of this activity is to design and build models of seed dispersal methods. Give each student an oval bead and tell them it represents a seed. Make the seed design packs, seed paper sets, flat toothpicks, and felt squares available, as well as pencils, scissors, and tape for the students to design their own seeds. Ask them to use these materials to make their seed available to travel. Give each student an oval bead and tell them that it represents a seed. Make the seed design packs, seed paper sets, flat toothpicks, felt squares, pencils, scissors, and tape available for students to share. Ask them to use these materials to make their seed able to travel away from their parent plant. Give them time to create their seed dispersal designs. Once they've finished, give students an opportunity to demonstrate how their seed would travel. If time allows, ask your students how they would redesign their seed if it didn't work the way they wanted it to, and give them the chance to add to or redo. Modifications for K-3. Activity 5. Seeds of Imagination. For this activity, you'll need the supplies listed on your screen and in your printed curriculum. This activity will be done individually by students. The goal of this activity is to reinforce the connection between plants and seeds. Ask students to imagine a plant no one has ever seen before, and give each student a sheet of paper and a pencil. Make crayons available for students to share. They should now use their imagination to invent and draw a new plant. Have them draw somewhere on the sheet what the seeds in their plant will. Ask students to imagine a plant no one has ever seen before, and give each student a sheet of paper and a pencil. Make crayons available for students to share. They should now use their imagination to invent and draw a new plant. Have them draw somewhere on the sheet what the seeds in their plant look like, and share their drawings in seed dispersal methods.